we're going to go into the second installment here for SpokedZ of the draft eligibles for 2024, focusing this week on the OHL. And man, a little bit thinner than the WHL.
Yeah.
That'll please Isha to hear. I think we just jump right into it here. Let's talk about your number one guy. We have a left-handed defenseman for the London Knights, 6'3", 195 pounds. And in 57 games played, he's got 17 goals, 45 assists, 62 points, is a plus 47. Dear God, with 24 PIMs. Sam Dickinson, who you've got in the tier of being drafted anywhere between 3 and 8 overall. Tell us about Sam Dickinson.
Yep. Definitely in contention for the best overall defenseman in this draft class, in a draft class full of elite defensemen. Like you said, he's 6'3". He's going and he's 195 pounds. He's, by the time he hits the NHL, he'll probably be, over 200, whatever. But the thing with him is like he blends that size with. He is an unfucking believable skater. And the thing with him, like obviously he's over a point per game. And like the plus 47 and 62 points in 57 games, that really does get help playing with London. But here's the thing. A lot of those points do come on the power play. So the fact that he's plus 47 is unbelievably impressive. But he is like the mold of a two-way defenseman that you want. Again, like unbelievable skater, offensive upside. But I think honestly, his main, like the biggest strength he has is his defensive game. Because I think there's still more to grow with the offense. Like he's got a phenomenal shot. He pounds a fucking puck. But in terms of like the offense, like his kind of decision-making with the puck needs to get a little bit bigger or better, because he does do a lot of like kind of like the foundational work of that. Well, like he can play a good first pass. He is capable of breaking out of the zone himself, starting the offense that way. But I think sometimes he's, he'll run into trouble himself. Sometimes he has some issues with just like problem solving on the spot. Like the guys that you watch when option A isn't there, they already are thinking 3 plays ahead. Sometimes that's not necessarily there with him, but the upside is through the fucking roof with him. I'll be shocked if he actually goes later than 5 just because of how good he is. And I mean, he's in a pretty good environment right now, but like this year he started hot and just did not slow down whatsoever. Again, he's in a very good environment for like, just for his like entering the draft. This is like, he's playing on London, who is one of the best teams in the OHL. They beat the shit out of everybody pretty much. But he's run their power play. He kills penalties. He gives you a little bit of everything, but the fact that he has such a strong foundational defensive game, with the fact that he's 6'3", he can skate unbelievably well, and the offensive upside is obviously there. I think there's a top pair potential in there. I think his realistically, you can probably point him, look at like a 3. Same time, I think his floor is like a guy that's like a 4, but plays 23 minutes a night. So love Sam Dickinson. Anywhere from 3 to 8, I would not be shocked. I would actually be shocked if he was later than 5, like I said. So yeah, first overall, or at least in terms of the OHL. And it's honestly, it's probably not, in terms of the OHL, it's not close. Like there's Sam Dickinson, and then the conversation starts for the rest of these guys.
Yeah. Number 2, you have at tier 8 to 12. So decidedly behind Sam Dickinson. Not much room for discussion. Right-handed defenseman from Saginaw Spirit, 6 feet, 180 pounds. In 55 games played.
This is unbelievable.
28 goals, 53 assists, and 81 points. Dear God. Plus 25 with 44 PIMs. We got Zayne Parekh.
So what's crazy about Zayne Parekh is I do have him in a tier that's just, well, it's under Sam Dickinson, but his upside is by far the highest of the OHL. This kid, what he can do offensively with the puck it's comical. I mean, last year as a rookie, as a double underager in the OHL, he still put up 20 goals. And Saginaw was like a good team, not a great team. This year they really loaded up, but he's top 10, I believe, in points this year in the OHL. He's by far the point leader on Saginaw. Friend of Hunter Haight, fun fact. But every single night it is the Zayne Parekh show. In the second half of this year, he's actually taken a pretty big step defensively, where like before he was a mess. But he's kind of blended. And the fact that he's 6 foot and he's 180, I think he's probably more like 180, 190 or 185, 190. He's fucking strong. He is not afraid of like just getting in the mix. So it's not like there's a lack of physicality there. Again, so many times where these underagers are like huge point totals as defensemen, people that have never watched them before will label them as like, oh, he's all offense. He can't do shit. We'll see what his defensive game looks like. He actually has taken a pretty big step defensive this year for himself. It is still a problem, which is why he is at a tier lower, because at some point, yeah, the offensive upside is through the roof. It could be quite a limiting factor if he's just getting walked every night. But he's taken enough of a step this year that makes me more than confident that this is his tier. And like, even if you look at like public polls, even people who try so hard to rank defensive defensemen higher than they probably should be in their own rankings, he's still like a top 10 guy. Like he is, like Zayne Parekh is unbelievable. Human highlight reel, runs the show for Saginaw. But the reason he is this high is that upside. Like he is so fun. His last goal was probably the best goal of his career, which was, I mean, it was a joke in overtime too. So he's a big game player. But my God, is he fun to watch. So Zayne Parekh, easy number 2 in the OHL. And I would put my money's on him going anywhere from like 10 to 15, depending on how the ping pong balls bounce. But yeah, if you have an opportunity to watch Saginaw Spirit, it is the Zayne Parekh show. He rules, dude. He's so fun to watch. Love Zayne Parekh. Great name, by the way. All name team, easy.
I don't know about easy, but yes, he's
Zayne.
Zayne's solid, but like there's some really good options. In fact, I don't know. There's a couple that are on this list.
Yeah. Oh, they're
ahead. So, like,
fair enough.
Say that he's easy. I don't know. That's a stretch. Again, he's in the discussion. He will be talking. Yeah. But at number 3 for you, a player who would probably break Minnesota Wild jersey sale records, just given the perfect nature of his name. We've got a right wing with the Windsor Spitfires. 6'2", 198 pounds. He's a big boy. 52 games played. He's got 30 goals, 48 assists for a whopping 78 points. We got a -3 with 33 PIMs. Z's got him in the tier of being somewhere from 12 to 20, which means he's actually in the Minnesota Wild conversation. Liam Greentree.
Yeah. I bet this would be a player if he's available where the Wild are picking. I would imagine that this is a player they would be very interested in. Again, you look at the size, 6'2", right around 200 pounds. He's only going to get bigger as well. The offensive upside, again, through the roof. He's a playmaker. He can score goals himself, obviously, with 30. And he's got the track record in the OHL as well. So one of the better wings in this league. We've talked about it before. He kind of just checks every box, but you look at the Wild prospect pool as well. You've got this crazy upside, big right shot winger, and he can play on either side as well. Menacing power play forward, scoring goals, and he's got some defense in his bag as well, despite the fact he's -3. Windsor's not a very good team this year. They loaded up last couple of years for the playoffs, so they've taken a bit of a hit. So it's actually even more impressive that Liam Greentree does have 78 points in 52 games on like a very average Windsor team compared to how they've usually been. And yeah, I think his tier is easily 12 to 20. I think he will go right around the 15 range. When you look at the tools in terms of like the size, the skill, the scoring ability, just how well he skates, and the fact that he's not like a complete black hole defensively, I think that's easy, like the 15 range. So I think he should be. There's a chance he's available. I think he probably will go higher just again because of those tools. But That being said, he's a right wing, so we'll see. But I think when you look at the Wild's prospect pool, I think this would be a player they're all over because it's like the one position where I'm like, yeah, they've got some guys that have some decent upside, but Liam Greentree, he's easy. Like his upside's top 6 scoring forward that gives you a little bit of value both ways. So love Liam Greentree, and he would look great in Minnesota. They would just have to take Greenway's sweater and just change a couple letters. You know what I mean? They could just do that. It's easy change. Easy
Even
change.
Fanatics could maybe figure it out. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot,
That's crazy.
Similar draft range. If my memory serves me right, I need you to try and be as objective as you can here. If you're the Minnesota Wild, I don't care what your draft spot is, you go up to the podium and there's only 2 options. You're either holding up the Liam Greentree card or you're holding up the Michael Brandsegg-Nygaard card. Who are you taking for the Minnesota Wild?
God damn it. I hate you so much for this. Oh, man. I want to say Brandsegg-Nygaard just because, well, mostly because I'm biased and I love him. And he's
not technically Swedish, if that helps.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick to my guns. I'll still say Brandsegg-Nygaard because he could probably play in the NHL in the next 2 years with ridiculous upside. And the fact that like he isn't just good defensively, he is legitimately an elite 2-way right wing. And he's actually an even better, like his shot's even better than Greentree's. And Greentree, again, he is an elite goal scorer. But Brandsegg-Nygaard, like just because he's playing the Allsvenskan this year, his stats don't jump off the page. So he's basically playing in like an AHL level league, but his shot is a fucking joke. It's unbelievable. But I'll stick with my bias. I'll just recognize. I'm not even going to try to not be biased. I'll just go Brandsegg-Nygaard. But yeah, I think they have close. I think Greentree's upside maybe just in terms of like raw offense might be a little bit higher because he's got the playmaking element too. Even though I think Brandsegg-Nygaard has that, but just not as high in terms of like a ceiling. So, but I'm just gonna stick with my guy. I don't even, fuck it. I'll just stick with my bias. I don't care.
Nice.
That's my fucking guy.
If he gets drafted by the Wild, I'm buying you that jersey, and I'm not Isha. It'll actually happen.
Yeah. All right. I wonder where that jersey is. Where do you think they lost it? Okay, I wonder where.
Oh, now here's this one. Maybe seems weird to you, Z, but this next one is actually my number 1 all-name team nominee from this group.
Oh.
So, a right winger with Oshawa Generals, measuring in at 6'2", 181 pounds. And in 52 games played, he's got 21 goals, 27 assists, and 48 points. A plus 15 with 57 PIMs. Z's got him in the first round firmly in the tier of 20 to 32. Beckett, Sennecke.
Yep. He's definitely left a little bit more on the table. Like, I would still like to see a little bit more from him this year specifically, but he, again, track record's really good in the OHL. He's got some high end skill. He's a big boy. He's fucking mean. He is mean as shit. Scoring upsides there. He's going to get bigger too. I still think he's firmly a first round pick. Despite the fact that like it's been hit or miss with him, very inconsistent this year. But I think the offense is really high too. Like he's decent enough defensively. He's big. He's mean. He's got the offensive upside. He can make plays. He's got a great shot himself, so he can score goals. So plenty there to like. It's just this year specifically, it's been a little bit hit or miss. There are some games where you don't really notice him until the end of the game where he decides to snap and like just beat the shit out of somebody. But he's also capable of making some highlight plays. So I still think he's a firm first rounder, just given like the tools with the size and everything, plus the skill to go along with it and the track record of like high production in the OHL and anywhere else he's been. So I like him a lot still, but I really would have. I thought there was gonna be a lot more this year because Oshawa, they're a good team. They didn't like load up the deadline or anything because I think they're pretty realistic, but plays a lot with Kumpalainen. So that's always going to, get you some points in my book. So, yeah, no, like the upside there. Definitely think he's a first rounder. Big fan of him. Even though he's a little bit inconsistent, but again, like I think NHL teams are going to fucking love him. He'll probably go right around 20 just because he's got the size, he's got the toughness, and like just his general approach to the game. Plus you have the offensive upside. So, yeah, he's a great name. Like you said. So yeah, Beckett, Sennecke, definitely one to keep your eyes on, and one that I would not be shocked if Minnesota has high on their list as well.
In on that. Mm-hmm. Next one here that I'm going to tee up, and then I'm going to step away real quick because I need to grab another nooner, or I'm going to be tapping out. We've got a center. This is our first center. That's weird. Okay. The first center from the OHL on this list, coming in at number 5 for the Mississauga Steelheads, measuring in at 5'10", 165. So legal midget. In 57 games played, he's got 23 goals, 53 assists, and 76 points. He's a plus 35. That's fun. With 8 PIMs. Again, firmly in your first round, and it's a guy that's going to go to a good team in the tier of 25 to 32. We have Luke Misa.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I do think that there's a good chance Luke Misa ends up in the second round, which if you're a team that doesn't have a first round pick and you only have like maybe a couple seconds or just 1 second round, whatever, I think that will bode quite well for you because Luke Misa is, by the time all is said and done, I think he's going to end up in my probably top 8 or 9 draft sons. The thing with him, the only reason that he will probably go outside of the first round, even though if it were up to me, he would not, is the fact that he is a center that is 5'10", 165 pounds. That is it. That is legit. It's the only rationale.
I could have answered that question.
Yeah, that's legitimately the only reason he would be going outside of the first round. Luke Misa might have, like, what he does, what he excels at is his ability to play at a higher pace, higher speed than any other player in this draft. Like, I mean, in the draft, like his processing, just in terms of reading the play, knowing exactly where the defenders are going to be, knowing where his own teammates are going to be, and then dictating the play, creating off the rush, and then manipulating the offensive zone as well, like creating passing lanes, setting himself up for goal scoring chances. And he's one of the better skaters in this draft, which also helps. But like his processing speed, how he reads the game, makes him one of the most elite centers in this draft. It's just the fact that he's 5'10", 165 pounds. I mean, the fact that he's on the Mississauga Steelheads, he's got 76 points in 57 games, he's a plus 35, is ridiculous. I think he is going to hit in the NHL just because of how smart of a player he is, the ability to play at the same pace as his brain operates. Like, there are a lot of guys whose their brain just doesn't operate the same like pace as their hands, or vice versa. That's not a concern whatsoever for Luke Misa, and he is an elite defensive forward, hence the plus 35. He is one of the, just in terms of all-around game, he's one of the best players in this draft. The only reason he's going to go probably after the first round again is the fact that he's a 5'10" center. That's it. That's the only reason. But again, as you took your headphones off as I was saying this, by the time all is said and done, he's going to easily be a top, just to be conservative here, top 8, I'll say, draft son. He's fucking unbelievable. There was actually, I saw a tweet, I think it was yesterday. I wish I could remember who it was so I could at least give them full credit, but they do like, they call themselves like unaffiliated CHL stats guy, basically. In terms of the OHL, for, I gotta say this right, players who contribute the most assists on their team, he's second in the OHL. Like, in terms of just like points and assists, I think he contributes like 40, almost 50% of Mississauga's fucking points.
Oh, so it's like
from
point
him.
share. I was like, oh, so he literally
Yeah.
like checked who has the most assists. I'm like, that's
No.
pointless.
In terms of their team, the guy that contributes the most. Yeah.
I'm going to be the unofficial OHL goal tracker. Who provides the most goals? Oh, weird. I just pulled it from the OHL website.
Yeah. Easy. Done. That's easy. But yeah, in terms like he is like he runs the show at Mississauga, who like they don't really have a whole lot of like high end guys, but I love Luke Misa. I was honestly toying with putting him over Beckett Sennecke. I think just the fact that he is so small and he does have, they're like he's gonna have to get stronger, and he will, because he does get pushed off the puck at times a little bit too easily than you'd like, but at the same time, like still he finds a way to be effective every single game. Like they go as he goes. So also fun fact, his brother Michael Misa, 2025 in contention for first overall, plays with Hunter Haight a lot. Fun fact. But yeah, no, I think Luke Misa is one of my favorite guys.
You have talked about him though. You've talked about Michael Misa, and I'm like,
he's insane.
Why does this guy sound
it's a joke.
Damn familiar? I know.
I think he was over a point per game last year as a triple.
I'm not saying they're related. I'm just saying like that's definitely where the name, like there was something in my head. I'm like, you've never talked to me about Luke Misa, yet I feel like you have. I don't know why. So that makes more sense. Yeah. But speaking of guys we've talked about, this next one here, I need some explanation pretty much. We've got a right-handed defenseman from the Ottawa 67s who's 6 feet tall. That means he's a normal human. 185 pounds, 52 games played, just under a point a game with 10 goals, 40 assists, 50 points. He's a +2 with 48 PIMs, and you have him firmly in the second round, the tier being 33 to 45. This is a guy that at the beginning of the year, we were talking about the like way too early draft rankings, and he was in the top 10. Talk to me about Henry Mews.
Yeah, it's a combination of things. I think, first of all, so many other draft eligibles having ridiculous years and being like, oh, there's way more upside here. And the fact that, like, yes, he's right around a point. Well, actually, right around a point per game now. He's a responsible defenseman as well. So there's plenty there. I just think for me, the upside has come into question way more this year. I think you look at those points, a lot of those are kind of like second assists where he's just like passing it to someone below the dot and then they put it back door. So I think there's some element of that. And I think the big thing is just the fact that I have so many more questions this year than I did, especially last year, in terms of like the raw upside. At the same time, he's a right-handed D-man who skates well, defends well. He can be physical, and he can chip in, at least even if he's not like your go-to power play quarterback guy. I think he can be he can chip in offensively. So to me, like this year's kind of firmed up that I kind of look at him as just like a 4. Even if it's just a quiet, steady D-man, and top end of the second round, that's still pretty good. But for me, I think that's where I landed on him. It's just, and I think a lot of it, again, like I said, I think a lot of it is the fact that there are other players who have just skyrocketed and like not shown any signs of slowing down, or just shown things they haven't shown before, and there's more consistency. But I just think the lack of confidence I have in the upside really hitting hard in terms of like what we saw from him before made me push him outside of the first round. I think that I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up still going late first, just because he does have a solid track record of how good he is, and he has been. And he logs a lot of minutes too. So still a great player. I think anyone would be happy to get him in the second draft because of all the tools he's got, plus his track record. And I mean, he's just a damn good defenseman. But in a draft full of elite high offensive or high ceiling defensemen, I think I just put him back down into the top half of the second round, or the top third of the second round, I think, actually.
There we go.
Just to give him a little more credit.
Yeah, no, got to give him a little extra pat on that. Next one, then we've got a center for the Barrie Colts, 6'2", 202 pounds. He's a decent sized boy. In 54 games played, we are just over a point a game. 25 goals, 30 assists for 55 points, +5 with 29 PIMs. You've got him firmly planted in the middle of the second round, tier being 40 to 55. What do you got to say about Cole Beaudoin?
Yeah, so this is where we get in these rankings where it's like I've seen a lot less of some of these guys,
Sure.
and there's no reason these guys are here and that my tier is where it's at because of the lack of like raw upside. This is where that really comes into question. I guess.
I think this is important for people listening and people that aren't as familiar with like scouting prospects, right? Where you have him ranked, is that based on your few games of viewing, or is that more like you grabbing on to, say, guys in the industry that you trust and kind of basing it a little bit on their rankings? Is this strictly what you've seen?
I would say I've seen in terms of the guys we have left here, I've probably seen a good amount of Cole Beaudoin at this point. Okay. I think he's going to be a solid center in the NHL. Like I think he's an outright center, which gives him value in his own right. He's a big kid that plays a really good two-way game. The reason he is in my own rankings where I have him, and I think I've seen a couple people have him sneaking into the first round. He's a big center with decent offensive upside. So you always like that. For me, I just question the upside raw offense. I think at the NHL level, he can be a reliable 3C. And for me, like you could sneak into the first round. I wouldn't like if he got taken like 30th, I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. That feels like an okay range for me. I
sure
have other guys that I'm going to go on the upside. And I think he's going to be a very reliable two-way 3C in the NHL. And again, like I said, like at this point in these rankings, the guys we have left, it's just I'm questioning the actual upside and then like the probability they hit that. But he's got some nice skill. He can be, I think he's got quiet skill, I guess. Like he's not making a whole lot of plays that are going to like, he's not doing like Zayne Parekh where he's going sports center top 10 mode. But I think like wherever he lands, once he makes to the NHL, I think he's going to be a guy that like fans love just because he's a quiet, reliable two-way center. So he's a great player, but I just question the upside. I guess that's it.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious too, and maybe there's not an easy answer to this, but where do you make the shift throughout the draft process, right? And I'm sure there's tiers, whatever, but generally speaking, when do you make a shift between, hey, I'm looking for floor versus ceiling, right? Like, are you looking for upside or are you looking for safe pick? Like, where do you make the pivot and which one are you kind of targeting earlier than the other? Like the higher upside or the like guaranteed, yep, this guy's a no shit NHLer, but maybe he's not a first liner.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the balance, I mean, this is, again, just me. You could probably ask.
I'm asking
15.
you. Yeah.
No, I know. Yeah. For me, like, I have to balance, all right, what's the ceiling versus the floor? If your floor is like, I won't play in the NHL if I don't hit, your upside better be like best player in the draft potential. You know, like in order for me to take you in like the first round.
Yeah.
For Cole Beaudoin, I'm very confident you had a high floor. Like, yeah. I don't think when he makes the NHL, I don't think you're going to have a problem with him stay. Like, he'll play a whole lot of games. Mm-hmm. And I think like he could be a guy on a Stanley Cup winning team, like, is a solid 3C. Again, not going to do anything that's like jumping off the page. Maybe he's not like all over the highlight reel, but like when you need him to make a play, he's going to be that guy. So I like Cole Beaudoin a lot, and he does flash. Like, there are flashes of like upside there. It's just not consistent enough for me to say, yeah, he'll do that.
At Cole Beaudoin either. That was more just like because you were starting to talk about shift exactly. between ceiling versus floor. I was just more genuinely curious, and I think it's interesting too for a lot of the listeners to understand.
Yeah, and I know like in with smart scouting, like they love the upside. Like which makes for like a way more fun when we do our like meetings for like early season, mid-year, final, like our like whatever conference that we do, our video. It's so fun. We actually have one coming up in a week or two.
I love it. The idea though of them just being like, yeah, dude, if this guy hits his ceiling, this is what happens. And you're like, what if he doesn't hit his ceiling? They're like, well, no, we don't fucking talk about that. Like,
yeah,
that's an option, man.
Which is why our rankings are significant. We had Jaden Perron top 15, I think, last year. He went in the fourth round. So
he was that.
By the way, yeah, he is torching college hockey, dude.
He's kind of okay at the hockey.
He is so nasty. But yeah, we love him.
Do you think with him going that late, like, is he in the discussion with Riley Heidt for like biggest draft steal?
I'm
not asking if he's going to win it. I'm asking if it's like a similar.
Oh yeah.
Discussion.
Yeah, he'll be in that chat.
All right.
Yeah, for sure. He's so fucking good. Yeah.
No shit. All right, number 8 on the list, we have a right-handed defenseman playing for the Oshawa Generals. 6 foot even, 176 pounds, and in 54 games played, he has 1 goal, 30 assists for 31 points. The 1 is so much funnier than a 0, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
A plus 12, 21 PIMs. Later part of the second round, firmly second round, being in the tier of 50 to 60. We've got Ben Danford.
Yeah, and I feel like that's one of the maybe few guys as far as like after Cole in my rankings here, Cole Bodwin beyond. I feel like this is one of the guys that I have picked that's like a fair consensus. The thing with Danforth is he's got good size. He's a phenomenal skater. He does the simple things really well. So again, I kind of talked about Cole Bodwin being a guy that you're never going to complain about. Ben Danford just is that exact guy. That being said, I've seen players that I would have said that about last year as defensemen. They went higher than I would have taken them. Like I looked at, the Swedish kid. Oh my God, it's going to drive me. Theo Lindstein. He went in the first round. I did not have him in the first round, but I was like, yep, you're never going to complain about that guy. So anyways, smooth skater, makes a phenomenal first pass, defends really well. Again, for me, probably a firm, easy 4 in terms of just like your D-man lineup. But he just doesn't make any highlight reel plays. He's not going to be like quarterbacking your power play, but there's some he's not offensively inept, which makes him an intriguing, decently sized right-handed D-man. The fact that he's a right shot D also is going to always help. It helps. It's very weird. It's also very funny. Teams we love a good right shot D man, you know?
Yeah, dude, am I like the worst parent in the world if my kid starts playing hockey and I don't like force him to play right-handed?
You have to be right. Get that fucking stick. Switch your fucking hands. Switch your fucking hands. But yeah, I think my buddies over at EP Elite Prospects, I think they have him in their first round. He might be like their 32nd off the top of my head, but which goes to show like he has plenty of tools in terms of the skating, like how smart he's a very, very smart defenseman as well. And the fact that he does have those baseline tools makes you think like he has some. Again, he's not offensively inept. That's the big thing. It's just on Oshawa as well. Like he's not leaned on heavily in that role, and they're not like torching teams every night. Like it's not like a Sam Dickinson situation where he's like, I go on the ice and there's a good chance I have a point. It's very different environment for him. Really like the tools. I think if anyone wants to take him early in the second round, you'll look very smart as well, because I think he's going to play a long time in the league. And I like pretty much everything he does. Like he's one of the guys I don't really have anything bad to say about him. I just question the upside. So that's Ben Denford.
Okay. Next up, I've revoked my previous comment. I think Beckett Sennecke is playing.
Yeah, I knew you were going to go here.
My number 2 all-name contender from the OHL. We've got a center from Guelph Storm, At 5'10", 165 pounds, which I'm guessing we got a similar debacle here where he should be in the first round, but he's a midget. So in 56 games played, just over a point a game with 20 goals, 41 assists, a -10 with 32 PIMs, right at the end of the second, early third in tier 55 to 65. We got a beauty by the name of Jet Luchenko.
Phenomenal.
Damn,
I was surprised when you said
top fiver. To be honest,
Yeah.
I didn't scroll far enough. I think I might have scrolled through Ben Danford, and I saw Ben Danford. I'm like, I don't need to fucking scroll any further.
I don't even see the rest of these.
It's like in Key and Peele when they do the All-American Bowl, and then at the very end, it's like Brad Smith, and it's the white guy from BYU. It's like, I don't need to go further. We've seen what we need to see. No, Jet Luchenko, what a name. Let's talk about Jet Luchenko, the player, because I already want him on the Penguins of the Wild so bad.
Yeah, another guy that definitely falls victim of being 5'10", 165, but also the playing environment. So like Guelph, they went not necessarily all in, but they also moved a whole lot of pieces last couple of years. But he is a nonstop motor, skates real well. He's fat. You'll be shocked. I feel like a guy named Jet Luchenko. Like I bet he's fast as shit. Fucking, he flies out there. He's got high end skill. The thing with him is it's very easy, and he's gotta get stronger. But offensive upside very high, very very high. Super high end skill. He can score goals himself. Obviously, elite playmaker. But this is one player in particular that the size is going to be a detriment for him. I think it will take a lot for him to like hit top 6 potential. I still think he can be and also I don't think he's going to be a center at the NHL level. Sure. But the offensive upside is there. He's such an intriguing player, and he can be a little fucking prick on the ice too. He loves doing like, Marco Rossi will be like, yeah, I'm bored. Let's just like kind of stir the fucking Hornets. Let's rattle the Hornets nest here. And he'll do that shit. It's very funny. But love the offensive upside. I think he's going to be able to put up some like decent points in the NHL. It's just the fact that he is 5'10", 165. He's got to get way stronger to be effective. But I think he can be a middle 6 scoring option. Just the fact that, again, he can score goals himself, but like he is a legit playmaker. He's such a fun OHL player, which is like the risk where you have to like balance that out.
Totally.
But I still feel like he's an easy tail end of or mid to late second round guy, probably. Which is why I put him where I did. But I really like watching him play. He's very fun. He is fucking annoying as shit to play against.
Yeah, I want him so bad. You have not fucking me out of it. He's my guy. He's one of mine. I've stamped it.
Yeah.
Luchenko is one of my draft sons. This is good because usually like 1 or 2 of my draft sons are just because you've convinced me so hard. Like, dude, last year you had me so. I wish you hadn't got me so excited about Zach Benson because it broke my heart when he was taken one spot before. But like he felt like my draft son, even though that was purely from your propaganda. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be right. The kid's an absolute stud. But like, this is one that just based on that explanation, the name obviously helps, but I'm not going to pick a draft son off of name. Like, he is exactly what I'm looking for in my first stamped, approved draft son, Jet Luchenko. Welcome, my friend.
Love that.
Oh, and then we get to number 10 on the list before a brief rundown of the honorable mentions. We have a left-handed defenseman playing for Sarnia Singh. Never heard of them. The Sarnia Singh. Coming in at 6'4", 181 pounds. That feels a little light for 6'4", but 57 games played, 5 goals, 25 assists for 30 points. We got a -16 with 62 PIMs, right in that late second, early third tier, being 60 to 70 for Z. We have Mr. Lucas Fisher.
Yeah, First off, Sarnia absolutely stinks. So that puts a big dent into
dash.
Yeah, that explains some of the dash. I think on a good team, he'd probably be up closer to like Henry Mews numbers in terms of like offensive production. He is a fucking massive left shot D-man who skates really fucking well. He defensively sound. And the thing with him is he is a fucking asshole to play against. I think actually last game I was watching, which was like, it was Sunday, they were getting the shit kicked out of him. And he broke the puck out himself. Again, great skater for his size. Created some offensive scoring chances and was like, say the blue line, and someone missed like a backdoor tap in. And his reaction was like, fuck this, finds Kitchener's biggest fucking player and goes, hey, we're fucking going. And just started fucking landing bombs. I was like, I like this guy. But I think he's gonna, and just given the fact that he's 6'4", he is a little bit slight, but God, he's fucking strong. And again, he's mean as shit. I think he'll probably go middle of the second round just because he does have so many tools in terms of size, the skating ability, the defensive app. Like, not a problem defensively. He can kill penalties. Like, he can probably give you some offensive production, but I think there's enough upside there that he'll go higher than where I have him. I would like to see a little bit more consistency for me to put him firmly like in the middle of the second round. But definitely an intriguing one for sure. I think he's going to go higher than my tier, just given the size and his he also, like, we talked about Matt Rempe picking spots. Lucas Fisher does that pretty well, where he will absolutely go and be like, all right, we need a fucking boost here. Unfortunately, Sarnia needs boosts almost every game. We can't necessarily do that as often. But he's a very, very intriguing prospect for this draft class. Just like, again, very deep defensive draft class. So he kind of falls the ranks a little bit. I think there's probably some people. I know the NHL scouts have him probably early to mid second. But even like some like of my buddies who lean more on the upside, like they like him a lot just because he does have those foundational tools paired with the fact that he's 6'4". So very intriguing one for sure. I couldn't keep him out of my top 10. I would just like to see, again, it's just the fact he plays for Sarnia. I see it so infrequently just because of how, I mean, like, they're bad this year. They weren't like elite last year, but yeah, it's very intriguing. I think like he needs some time to marinate in like junior hockey, AHL, but when he hits the NHL, I think he's going to be a really reliable defensive defenseman. So yeah, no, I love Lucas Fisher. He's very fun especially when he's like, all right, let's fucking go. I'm done with this bullshit. Let's fucking give the boys boost here. So yeah.
For the boys. All right, that brings us to our honorable mentions, which we've got
only a few.
Well, yeah, but we've got 3.5 in here that are like true mafiosa Italians.
Yeah, I know.
I'll do my best as I read through these to kind of hit those properly. Your honorable mentions, and I'll let you kind of go wherever you want with each of these, but full list. We have Sam O'Reilly. We have Carter George, Merrick Vanacker, Anthony Romani, Anthony Cristoforo, which, I mean, Anthony is just like an Italian name, apparently, I've decided. Here's the halfer. Jacob Battaglia. I don't know if that's Italian or not. Then we've got Christopher, I don't know if it's Thibodeau or Thibodeau. It could go either way. And then the most Italian, Luca Marelli.
Yeah. If only you hadn't hyped that one up at all. Yeah, only a couple of guys here. I think, first off, I had to put, in terms of like the honorable mentions, Carter George. He's one of probably the first goalies that'll go in this draft. And there are a couple that will go probably like second, third round. He's got again, long track record in the OHL. He's put up decent enough numbers. And just like, again, not a goaltending scout per se, but I think he will go I guess he goes in the second round. I know plenty of people who do actually scout goaltenders. They like him a lot. They think there's some upside there. The one guy I had to battle keeping out of my top 10 was Sam O'Reilly. He plays for the London Knights. He's put up some decent offensive numbers this year. He's a bit undersized, but he can play center. He plays wing. He's got offensive upside. I think he's right around a point per game for them, but he plays a really good two-way game as well. And he is mean. He's physical despite his size. So really, really like Sam O'Reilly as well. Again, I really wanted to find a spot in the top 10 for him, but I just couldn't get there. Wouldn't be shocked by the end of this season if I did have him in my top 10 OHL guys. But definitely one to keep their eye on. I think that's a third round guy, probably. That, again, I think there's enough upside that like he could make you look silly for taking him that late.
Well, no,
and then the other
for taking him that late, make everyone else look silly.
Right. Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry. The one that I'm very, very curious to see where he ends up going is Anthony Cristoforo. He is such a fun player. Like, he's a right shot D-man. Unfortunately, 5'11". Incredible skater. He plays at an unbelievable pace. I know some people that want to put him in their first round. I can't get there myself. But like, in terms of just raw tools and upside, he is so intriguing to me because he plays so quick. He's such a fucking good skater, loves to be physical. Defensive game's a work in progress, but that's okay. I think there's enough of an upside there, even though I kept him out of my top 10. I think he's a very, very intriguing defenseman. I think you can work with him. So that was one I was battling again. I was like, could I put him in the top 10? I just like couldn't get myself to do it. But he's definitely one to watch. But yeah, the OHL is just, again, the past couple of years, and like, I mean, it's going to happen again next year. The WHL is just, I mean, reigning supreme. So I have a whole lot less on so many of these guys, but I at least wanted to bring those couple honorable mentions up. But yeah, I am Anthony Cristoforo. I'm very curious to see where he ends up going because like the base layer of tools is so intriguing. Like, he's such a fucking good skater. And he's very fun to watch when he's on his game. So we'll see.